Hello everyone, my name is Haley Bandy and today I will be giving a book review on a book I recently read called Fearless Leadership: High Performance Lessons from the Flight Deck by Carey Lohrenz. Before jumping into my review of the book, I want to provide some details on what the book was about and give credibility to the author. Carey Lohrenz published this novel in her 40s following decades of learning and implementing the knowledge she's sharing within the book. She was the United States Navy's first female F-14 Tomcat fighter pilot. This is where Carey gained the skills she uses to formulate this book. She's taken these skills learned in high-pressure military roles and transferred them down to corporate settings. She's been able to help top business leaders from Fortune 500 executives to middle managers apply these skills to be better leaders. The purpose of this book is to teach the audience these same skills and how to apply them to become a fearless leader. To provide some insight on what Carey's primary focuses are in this book, I want to provide a quick synopsis. Carey teaches fearless leadership in 2 steps. First, she focuses on the fundamentals of fearless leadership. This takes up about the first half of the book. In this, she talks about courage, tenacity, and integrity. She believes these are all characteristics fearless leaders need to have. Courage allows us to take risks and do things that are out of our comfort zone. Tenacity allows us to not give up when things don't go as planned. And integrity gives us the responsibility to do the right thing, even when it isn't the easy thing. The second half of the book, Carey focuses on putting fearless leadership into action. Here she dives deeper into having a shared vision, creating a positive culture, the importance of prepare, perform, and prevail, and resilience. She discusses how to take these actions and how to implement them into fearless leadership to be successful. Now I want to take a moment to tie these concepts covered by Carey and relate them to the concepts we've discussed thus far in this course. In last week's discussion, we were able to discuss the fears of leadership. Based on what I saw, I found we were all split pretty evenly on if we found leadership frightening or not. I was one who said I did not fear leadership, but after reading some of the other posts, I did find some areas of leadership that I failed to consider that could be more frightening. I think my reasoning for not feeling fear towards leadership is thanks to this book. The way Carey ties these concepts together and makes them work in tandem with one another to be a fearless leader gave me the confidence against many of my fears expressed by my peers. We discussed in week 2 the importance of adaptability in leadership. We learned of different types of adaptive challenges we may face and how to recognize them. Carey's section on tenacity focuses on this heavily. She talks about not giving up and being able to move forward, but she also ties in the ways to do this. Her suggestion: be adaptable. We also have read about perspective and the importance it plays in as we lead different teams with different goals, structures, and values. Carey's discussion on preparation, performance, and reflection mirror this concept. She talks about making a plan, coming up with anything that could go wrong, and having a plan for those scenarios. She then dives into performing and how to act on the unexpected. Then she highlights the importance of reflection. She brings in everyone involved in all of these steps, but particularly the reflection piece. She likes to get as much feedback from as many different people as possible so she can better adjust her plan moving forward. The final concept we've learned in this class that I found reflected in this book is managing expectations. She talks about having a wingman in her section on culture. She talks about their differing roles. Even though everyone on the team was working towards the same goal and ideally has a shared vision, if you're not managing the expectations of your team members, you're going to get off track and struggle to meet your goals. She gives examples of how she manages expectations when she was working with her wingmen, as well as all the ground crew and ship crew that helped her when flying. Now that we're about to jump into my review on what I liked and disliked about the book, I want to preface it with my why. I chose to read this book as it was recommended to me by my manager at work. I knew that I wanted to get into leadership and I want as much knowledge as I can get on how to do it well. While I'm fairly certain this book will not single-handedly make me a good leader, I felt it was going to be worth the read, especially coming from a woman's perspective in a male-dominated role. I think it's important to idolize people who are similar to you and share similar values, and I felt a woman in a powerful position making a difference closely aligns with where I want to be. Now it's time to discuss my review of this book. Let's start with some basic strengths. I loved the formatting of this book. Her writing style is perfect for me in that it's broken down into sections that are easily digestible. She has parts of the book that are broken down into chapters that are then broken down into sections that are broken down even further with headings throughout to keep it separated. That made it really easy for me to find a good stopping point when I was reading. I also felt like she did a good job at portraying her message. She has key points that she has learned and wanted to share those, and she portrays those points well. She does this by writing in a way that allows the reader to apply the points to their own individual scenarios. She gives examples, but her overall writing is giving details on the key points in a vague way that allow for variety. I also liked how she used a lot of strong quotes to keep the reader's attention. It was one of those books that spoke to me in a way that it was hard to put down. Another highlight to the formatting is that she chose those strong quotes and she put them in bold font somewhere else on the page to call them out. I also think this book proved to be a challenging read in a good way. She used prestigious language that made me stay engaged, but she did it in a way that didn't feel unnecessarily complicated. Now that I've talked about where I felt this book was strong, I want to mention a few things I personally would have changed to make it the perfect book for me. There was a very heavy focus on her experience in the Navy, and the whole first chapter essentially is a story written in almost purely military terms. While this would be a great feature for someone with a lot of interest in the military, it made it difficult for me to be interested at times. Particularly that first chapter, I almost didn't keep reading. I'm glad that I did because I learned a lot, but it felt like it was geared towards someone who knows military language well. The only other thing that I would criticize is the simplicity of the points that she focuses on. Now, this point could almost be turned into a positive depending on how you look at it. My reason for including it here is because they seemed obvious. A leader needs to have courage, tenacity, integrity. These made me hesitant to read the book because I didn't think I was going to gain anything from reading a book about things I already knew. I stood corrected though because how she explains these concepts goes well beyond the knowledge I had going in. So would I recommend this book? Overall, I would recommend this book to anyone who's interested in being in a leadership role. I think anyone with interest in the military or maybe family in the military would enjoy this book even further, as she does tie her experience in the military back to her concepts pretty often. I also think women in leadership in particular would also really enjoy this book, as she overcame a lot of obstacles being a woman in a male-dominated field, and that really inspired me while I was reading it. I want to wrap up by calling out some of my favorite quotes from the book that have stuck with me since I finished it, and I will continue to apply to my leadership skills in the future. Thank you all for watching my book review on Fearless Leadership, High Performance Lessons of the Flight Deck, written by Carey Lohrenz. If you choose to read it, I hope you enjoy.